Ardeos, Mr. Fire himself. He was the first DPS I cared to learn in Fellowship because damage over time characters are cool. And I've got a couple hot tips for you guys, because while I don't want you to be better than me, I don't want to need to carry you either. But how can we know how to be a dot character without understanding the history of dots in video games? It all began back in 1977, when Sonic the Hedgehog 2 came out. The closest anyone had gotten to a dot in the video game was Sonic drowning. It's a timer, and at the end of it, you suffer damage. No one on Earth had ever done that before, but humanity's been working on it since. After that, primarily drowning in video games was where dots stood, and it was never something we did to the enemies, it only happened to us. Till, of course, the RTS genre evolved. They created something flashing, something new. They made damage zones. You use a spell, it makes a puddle of gunk. It hurts people. I believe the first one was from Total War Warhammer 1, back in 1992. These damage zones, while not a traditional dot, because they're applied to an area instead of a character or an enemy, they did lay some interesting groundwork. This is when Donnie O'Trey, a class developer on the first ever MMORPG, EverQuest, opted to include a Necromancer class, inspired by such films as The Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, and the TV show Ash vs. the Evil Dead. He thought zombies would be cool, but how else would a Necromancer attack? Well, they'd clearly speed up your decay so that they could add you to their legion. Probably, it was his train of thought. And thus, the MMO dot class, my favorite. And this is where our journey kind of begins in earnest, because while single player games typically never give you more than like a burn or a poison, MMOs, they let you stack and stack and stack those dots. Donnie, however, would never see the impact he left on the world, because sadly he succumbed to his injuries. But boy did dots come into their own after that. World of Warcraft Warlocks, literally every class with the condition build in Guild Wars 2, and probably at least one more example. Dots were everywhere. They were all over the globe. They were taking over the world. They were bigger than Britney Spears and Hannah Montana combined. But just when the world needed them most, they vanished. It was 100 years later when my brother and I discovered the new dot class, a fire mage named Mr. Fire. And although his dot skills are great, he's got a lot to learn before he brings back the dots. But I believe he can save the world.